I should read like that. It is a system and contradiction with the laws and values. It is a system in contradiction with the laws and values of the world in which it lives. Some people don't think that this value discussion is important. They believe that there are more important organizational, monetary, direct action type of things that we should be focusing our energies on. These people are either malicious or ignorant to a fault. This is exactly how we're going to turn a blind eye to our only weakness, losing our moral high ground. That's where we derive our moral authority from. That is why I figured out that redacted is a government agent. Yes. Or an institutional douche. That's it. We'll call these type of people IDs. It doesn't matter if it's a good talk or even walk a good walk. If the values and the willingness to sacrifice for those values are similar to yours, to my own, they might as well be government agents. We are all agents for the government. Just some of us have agency and some of us do not. The agents who do not spend the effort to learn and accept the roles as servants for state aggression, police, military, politicians, and any government worker, these are known as citizens, and citizens are who we should be organizing to show them how they have an alternative to citizenry. That's why the farm's so important. It's our alternative. It's our haven, our safe place to which we can retreat to imagine a better world. The farm is our fort, if you will. It's like, but it's not made out of pillows. It's made out of the things that real fortress is made out of, which aren't pillows. But my experience in fort building has been purely pillow based. But the farm is not. We are beyond pillows now. To paraphrase the great Dr. King, where do we go from here? Beyond pillows. That is why it scares them shitless. We have a lot more autonomy on the farm. We can actually start recreating society on the farm. This is already being done. People are open sourcing all the plans and material needed to create a do-it-yourself civilization kit, complete with an automated brick maker that pumps out enough bricks to build a house a day. One person, one house a day. You need a place to live? Do you have Wednesday free? Let's get you to work so you can move in Thursday. Nice car. I'll build you a house for it. Yeah, I've got 20 houses out in the country. Selfish? Nah. They're just prepped and ready for occupiers. I just had a couple weeks free this summer and thought I'd crank them out, Like chopping a lot of firewood just for the hell of it. This is what living in the world of plenty would look like. What am I even saying? This is just, that is what smoking a lot of weed looks like. Am I high? Oh, I'm high. I'm high when I wrote this. Okay. It's forgiven. These are ideas that just need some more effort underneath them. But they're interesting ideas. This is exactly the opposite of our world of scarcity. Things aren't perfect, and it's not do-nothing living, but is living in tune with the wisdom, time frame, and bounty of the natural world. In this sense, it's exactly what Fukuoka, I think I misspelled that word, talks about in One Straw Revolution. Fukuoka, I think it is. It is not farming, but a lifelong process. There is no such thing as farming. There is no such thing as occupying. There is no such thing as baking. There is no spoon. Be the spoon. I had a spoon. There's only living. Indian quote about the white man's bank versus Indian bank. What the fuck are you talking about, Shaz? Why are you speaking to us? You're supposed to be writing. Is this a note to you? You're supposed to put a quote in there about well, let me see if I could remember the fucking quote that you're referencing. You kind of ruined the flow here. A white man goes to an Indian and says, Indian, let's call you Chief. Chief Indian, Chief. Let us introduce banking to your people. And the chief, who happened to be a chief, said, why do I need this thing banking? And white man says, well, it could help your people save. So that way when the hard winter comes, they'll have something put away for hard times. And when the bountiful harvest comes, they can store away more for hard times. And the chief, Indian chief, says, if that is what a bank is, and blankets are my bank, and I give the blankets to my neighbors and my relatives and my friends and even my enemies. And when the hard winter comes and they need blankets, then my friends and my relatives and even my enemies send blankets to me. So blankets are our bank. Good white man. I don't think it went like that. It went something like that. My mom told me one today. Maybe this morning. Maybe it was yesterday. Probably yesterday. A sparrow's flying. A sparrow fucking sleeps in when his whole flock goes south for the winter. He's like, I'll catch up. So he tries to fly to catch up. He fucking doesn't because they're flying faster than him because they're in formation and shit like that. So he gets fucking sleeted on, covered in ice where he can't even fucking fly anymore, and he fucking falls into a fucking barn somewhere. So now he's in the barn, right? And then fucking, he's like, fuck. As if life couldn't get any worse. And then he gets shit on by a cow. So now he's in the barn, covered in ice, covered in fucking cow shit. He's like, fuck. How can life get worse? But then fucking after a while he notices that the cow shit fucking melts the ice off his wings. He's like, oh my gosh, I can fly now. Wow. And he moves around a little bit and it actually feels pretty comfortable down there. He starts chirping. He's like, yeah, you know, fucking life's okay. Life's not bad at all. And fucking, he starts chirping so much that a fucking cat comes and starts licking off the shit off of him. He's like, yo, fucking, the ice has been melted off of me. Now I'm gonna fucking like rub down. Fucking, my life's really good. Until the fucking cat eats him. And then the story is supposed to have 3 morals, I think. It was, not everyone who shits on you is a bad influence in your life. That's what it is, because the shit melted off the ice. But not everyone who licks shit off of you, cleans shit off of you, has your best interest. Because the cow was just cleaning them up so he could eat them. And then the third one was, if things are going well for you, keep your fucking damn mouth shut. And the bird was all chirping like, oh, you know what, he attracted the cat. It was really weird. It was a tortured fucking story. And I was telling my mom, so I was like, that's like fucking, what do you mean? Like, when things are good, just shut up? Like, I mean, I understand humility, but I also thought it was a little bit like, try to just be docile or some shit. I don't know. She probably actually told it better than me. I fucked it up. Stories like that are interesting. I'm never going to get through this, Shaz. All right. We have 52 minutes. I wrote this quote on the event calendar on Turkey Day. Interestingly enough, I thought it was funny that no one had organized a demonstration to talk about Thanksgiving Day values. So this is Shaz looking at the whole Occupy culture and being like, all right, this organization needs a cultural overhaul and values discussions. And if I could have, I would have funded a whole retreat with the whole leadership group for us to get out and bond. But this and that, we didn't. We were creating a structure without admitting we were creating a structure, and so everyone felt guilty. The people who were starting to amass positions of authority and power, either that or they were being malicious actors, and they were just trying to get rid of the money. And I think there was a mixture of both. Obviously, there had to have been malicious actors, or else the government's not doing the job that we pay them for, or supposed job. We don't pay them for that, but like that's what they do throughout history is break up populist movements. So if it would be very out of character of them to not have sent agitators and other people our way. So I assume they interacted with some of those people. Same way, there should have been some foreign fucking, there's some Russians and there's some fucking just obviously like foreign people who are like, but it probably would have been easier to infiltrate through the French because we had a lot of French and you can't even, they all kept to themselves. Fucking, there's some like fucking super open source type Russian dudes that I really like too, all dressed in black, and they couldn't have been, maybe they were like government people, but they're too severe. There's a severe like Russian anarchist type fucking like radicalism, which is just like, you're pretty sure they're not, I don't know. I never get any fucking like vibes from them, bad vibes. It's just more like, they're just like, they're severe. If you want to fucking hang out with those guys, it's like, first of all, you gotta be wearing black and shit. Anyways. But they had some good points. They were trying to keep, we had general assemblies happening in the park, and then they were trying to set up these leadership meetings elsewhere with the leadership of the group. But if we had just stuck to the general assemblies and organically grew from there, we would have grown into the fucking worker groups and the other stuff, and we would have handled our resources together. But they had the finance committee break off from the general assembly, and then they handled the finance. And so now the money's gone. And the same thing with all the supplies. They put them in a warehouse, all of our clothes, and then you had a point person for that. And then we had housing over here, and Jeff was the housing main guy, the guy that I kicked out of that church. He was losing us our housing through his neglect of how he was running that. So seeing how he was running the housing and me living in the housing situation, actually kicking him out and telling someone else, Max, who's one of the head organizational, probably looks like a corporation how they're breaking this all up. There's like a head people, organizational people, who these other people are reporting to, the housing and the fucking finance and the other stuff. It's like, but we didn't come up with this organically. People just like decided on this early on. We didn't just, it was, you could tell that the same types of people were at the heads of these little committees controlling most of our resources. And they were all in agreement that the people down here, the General Assembly and the people living in the park, were annoying. They were the problem. Although they liked them because they were creating media, which would create money. But then did some of these guys want the money? They said the money's the problem too, and we just need to, because now that they got the brand and they got their fucking positions of power, now they can leverage these out in the real world for like resumes. Or I see some of these people who fucking put on their resume that they helped organize Occupy Wall Street stuff. There's this teacher, fucking Justin Weeds, who fucking puts it on his resume. And then there's people who don't, and I wonder why they don't. People who actually did real shit in this movement, and now they're off marketing a fucking private company for like consulting for fucking branding and management and getting your message out. There's this one girl, and she's the one who brought us our Egypt proposal. That whole proposal to go to Egypt, wasn't in that meeting, but I was outside on the street, and I saw them go in and out, and I heard them talking amongst themselves nearby me. And then so I saw like really the bird's eye view of that. I might have sat in on like maybe one meeting, but I knew the people who were in there, the organizational type people, and they came to the General Assembly for that $20,000. We said, yeah, go to Egypt. And then someone was like, it's violent over there and you guys are stupid and I hope you guys get killed over there. And other people were like, yo, that's fucking harsh to say. I hope you get killed over there. Because there's always people at our General Assemblies. We're having them every single night in the park. And the people would come out from the street, from anywhere, to join him. And so it wasn't just the people in the park. You can get these homeless people or other people. Some of them were proven to be agitators who were sent in from the cops in order to break up our meetings. And so you had to, that's when I talk about the consensus process in General Assembly. You had to have firm administrators and facilitators in order to fucking keep the process going. Which I'm thinking our crack in organizational structure was mostly about values, which is what I'm talking about here. If we had more transparent conversations about values and buying into being together as an organization and a group around these shared values, then we could hold everything accountable. But instead we had these bureaucracies and these groups that then had their little heads of power, and they would just get money out of the General Assembly to buy the group a laptop, and then the laptop gets stolen or something like that. That happened a lot. People are just like, the cynical among us are just like, there's even cynical people in our farms group who are like, they were cool people and they really were sincere, but they weren't expecting money much from the movement. Not like we're going to change the world, but like that dude who fucked that girl in the church. He was a cool dude. He was just going to the parties, going to the farms and working and then partying, but he was just a dude that, like, I realized later on, he was just rolling through. Just people were just like checking out the party. This guy showed up at the farms and he had taken a whole bunch of mushrooms. He was just like, yeah, some people are a lot more laid back about it. I was like serious about the fucking like, now this is the revolution. There are people like me who are like gung-ho revolution, like this is it. Like if you look about people who are willing to die for what they believe, those are the people that I want. It's like, my circle was kind of small, probably, the people who are that committed. But we would sleep on the streets, and like we were actually, the other people who were sleeping on the streets were actual junkies and fucking people who didn't have anything. But there were some people like me, really idealistic out there. And then there are people just rolling through for the party and fucking, but yeah, it's really interesting that the way I described it right there with the different organizational structures. I want to try to find those point people out, those organizational heads. There's this, the last document that I'm going to go over about Occupy Wall Street was this email to this person to try to find our logs of we had our own website, nycga.net, and it had all of the groups and all the people talking with each other. And that was up for like 3 years, and then it got taken down. And I was going to record it, or at least I wanted to go document, just copy all of my dialogues and as many as I could off of that website, because then you can really tell these people are using the real names, and people, you could trace them over time. You can see what are they doing now. Like that one girl who did that Egypt proposal to get us over to Egypt. We had 2 letters from Egypt, one saying come and one saying not to come, and both of them saying that they represented the people who were protesting. So who do we believe? Well, the girl who originally tried to get us over there, it was her idea. So maybe the people wanting us to come was a setup. Because she doesn't list Occupy on her resume now. She lists the type of agitation that you would sell yourself as if you're going to infiltrate one of those movements. Like she says, like messaging and like group, I don't know, fucking innovative ways to use technology to get your message across like multiple platforms. And it's like the way that I would package my experience in Occupy Wall Street without actually talking about Occupy Wall Street. And it's an international group, and she claims to have worked all over the world. I think I go one of the videos I made this year, I go and go through my emails, and a lot of these people come up in the emails. So if I was gonna go into this in earnest, I would go through my emails and find basically my Rolodex of people to talk to from that, and see what they're doing now and what they did back then. But if we still had that website, that'd be very convenient to go through that website, and because we could just see how the power groups were playing out, who was associating with who, what were they working on. The website was all transparent. You could see everyone working and doing stuff. And then we went away from the website. We went away from transparent systems. That's a conversation going on between people. Homegirl from Jamaica hooked me up with herb that day, out of the goodness of her heart, right there in Zuccotti. Yeah, some girl from Jamaica fucking smoked me out once in Zuccotti. I ran into her the other day, and she's telling me how it was her birthday the other day, and how her and the guards in the park were all playing tag or something, and how someone started taking pictures and they had to stop because they didn't want to get in trouble. Everyone just wants to be people, and they're getting us all fucking antagonize the cops, have the cops antagonize you. And perhaps our approach gets in the way of our effectiveness. Actually, I know it does. It's the only logical reason why we've stalled. Our approach has been wrong. We need to change what we're doing. We need to admit we're not doing this right. I need to go to the farm. I need the right people and a whole lot of money to meet me up there. Highly skilled welders, people who know about farming, people who communicate well, people who like to have fun, for the love of God, some cute girls who don't mind having casual sex every now and then, the shamans, the thinkers, the brutes, the musicians, the artists, the inspired outcasts. Did I mention the women? Please, for the love of God, I'm so horny. The sincere, if you agree with the values of this tract, and if you are willing to die for those values, then let's talk. Come to Woodstock Farm and hang out. I doubt you'll leave. This isn't about Shaz Barrick or David McNerney or 29-year-old writer, admittedly flawed, ultimately frail human mortal. This is about learning how to live within the harmony of the world we live in, tapping into that wisdom and furthering our understanding of the tradition in order to reach our real human potential. This is all good because this just proves I had the Tao before I read the Tao. Because like a lot of this is just like all of that fucking natural expression of humanity is the basis of anarchist theory and Tao and Zen and Buddhism and any higher spiritual faith really, or higher intellectual truth should have its foundation in natural expression, a theory of natural expression. I think our potential as a collective consciousness of humanity. And that is why he's nervous around me. Who are we paranoid about now, Shaz? His conversations kept going back to near the seat of moral justification. Our inalienable rights are not derived from contracts, from general assemblies, from dying societies out of which we're escaping, or the people who are escaping with us and interpreting the previous, facilitating this whole process. Right? Well, that's why he's nervous around me. His conversation kept going back to near the seat of moral justification. And then, is this my opinion? Our inalienable rights are not derived from contracts, from general assemblies. So I'm saying that we have the rights that we have. Our moral justification, our highest value, what a strategic mind state might call our center of gravity in our organization, the emergent culture, our identity is the realization of human potential. This is the abstract concept that we are all clinging to, that everyone has the right to become a better person. Everyone can be better. A better society is going to require this self-improvement. That's good. You keep this part out of the whole thing. This is a personal journey that I am beginning to realize that I've started, and this is a journey that I'm asking you to join me in. Join us in the open source revolution. Join us. All in all, I think it's an interesting piece, and if you're looking at the spelling errors or the grammar or the paranoia or the manic thought processes, warning signs, you're missing the point. The point is you can't get the point. The point is you can't feel the rush of stepping outside yourself, stepping out of the way and just letting the thoughts flow onto the page without impediment. You might get close with enlightenment, but that was pretty good shit. And it's always humbling to get that different perspective, unpack naive sincerity in the form of a stoned rant. I'm going to have to think about where I was going with the above. Politics, police, and reoccupation, January 12th, 2012. Ha! I still don't know whether to keep up my stone ramblings from yesterday's post. Back when I was in California, before my Caribbean adventures, last book project I was trying to sell was entitled Brown, Queer, High, Cut Back, Locked Up, Sent to Die. Well, I was in the How many times have I tried to write my story? I have fucking Why I'm Right was the first autobiographical attempt, but before that I did the Citizens Audit where I tried to explain myself, then Why I'm Right where I actually tried to get in it autobiographically, and then I did Brown, Queer, High where I repeated a little bit of Why I'm Right. So that's 3 so far. And then I did the one at the end of last year when I started this journey. That's 4, and then this is the 5th one. And then I'm going to write it too. 5 or 6 times I've actually attempted. I think that's fucking probably enough practice, right? To fucking a lot of these little threads that we're trying to connect. It's interesting. 5 or 6 fucking attempts at autobiographies by the time you're 36. A little bit self-indulgent, Chas. Maybe just a little bit. Well, I was in the process of finishing it to sell it. Life intervened, noticing a pattern here. It was another nonfiction radical politics tract, similar to the Complete American's Guide to Revolution. Oh, there's 6 or 7. I forgot I wrote that one too. But back then, I hadn't yet escalated to a call for a full-on revolution. My idea was just to advocate for organizing social identities that already existed into political voting blocks that could be cross-party lines to band together. So the goal was to show how undocumented immigrants, alt-sexualities, stoners, students, victims of the prison industry, and soldiers all share similar traits. Every one of these groups has a strong social bond while also having their dignity assaulted by the state. They all share, at the very least, the moral high ground. The idea was to interject human rights into our political discussion. The rights of an economic refugee, the right to create your own sexual identity, the right to an education, the right to freedom, the right to not be lied to regarding the mission, conned into illegal, unending wars of aggression. And, of course, the right to alter your state of consciousness. Talk about high ground. Slow wink. Of course, marijuana activism has its highs and lows, the lows being confused mugshot photos. It's one thing to write about injustice, it's another thing to witness it firsthand. I met a lot of people and took a lot of notes over my week jail vacation in a for-profit corporate jail. I owe a lot of promises to the guys I met who are also locked up for nonviolent drug possession. I came from Cali. I come from Cali. Why is shit so fucked up here? Just the way it is, man. Why don't you organize? Orga, who? Just normal people who like to smoke weed, except for the detail that they're mostly poor minorities, black and Latino, and make up almost half our prison population. The only reason I got out in 7 days instead of typical 45 to 60 is I flirted with the in-processing girl who mentioned my case specifically to the overworked public defender. I'm not sure if that's true, but that's my story. I'm sticking to it. They have to rack up those billable bodies when you're a for-profit prison, so it makes sense to keep the system overburdened and understaffed. There's this guy in jail. We played chess a lot, and he was a big guy, like tall, fucking 6'4" or 5", just a husky dude, not buff, but he's just big and burly, and fucking we played chess, and then this white dude played chess with me, and the white dude was like a tougher white dude. He was like, he had his hanger-ons. The tougher people usually had like their flunkies, and then you had other people who hung out with them, and I was pretty much fucking solo for like that week or so. But like there was like pairs, like a guy and his flunky, or like this dude played chess and there'd be another, but you could tell that he's like kind of like the dude. Like even the black dudes who would work out in the corner, there was like a group of them though, fucking, and there was definitely like a main dude and shit. And so, and then they're like the fucking single dudes, and like I was just like I'm roaming, I'm usually on my own. So there's this big black guy I will play with, but then sometimes like other people will play with us, and like I just remember me and him would play, and it's like, oh, fucking good move, or blah, blah, oh, fucking, yeah, you whip my ass, or this or that. But, like, I would talk to him, but then fucking this other dude played him after me, and he tried to say some shit, and the dude just looked at him like he was going to kick his ass. And I was like, what? Fucking this, he's a lot meaner than I thought he was just a fucking gentle giant. But it's like, no, he actually had a temper and shit. He's just like, you don't know when people like you until, like, you notice how they act towards other people, and you're like, oh, I'm glad I'm on this guy's good side. And fucking me and him would mostly play. He won't play with the other knuckleheads. I don't know. I talked to him a little bit. He said he might be able to get me work when I get out and shit. Yeah, like some sort of some work, some bullshit. I saw his girl came to visit him, and he was fucking all happy and shit. I forgot what he was in for. He was cool. And then that white kid, the one with his like crew and shit. I don't know if because we were like the strongest players, and that white kid was like the strongest. He's just a very clever kid and fucking very aggressive. And he just comes at you and just like throwing pieces at you and like fucking sacrificing this and that. But he's just quick, and he just like he usually figures it out how to beat you. I beat him once. The last time we played, I think I played him for a ramen and I won. And so I was like, that night I'm like, I'm the best guy in this. Fucking, I knew he was the best person in this bay. So for that night I was like, I'm the best person in this bay right now. Fucking competition, stupid shit. But and then the black guy was like more like just like old head playing like fucking slow but steady, but he was good. Because if you play a bunch, then like now you're just getting better based off of technique, and I could have a lot more patience and shit. But you know the basics. You can like, even if fucking someone's better than you can figure out like sometimes you can sneak a win, or you can play like a. That's how I did it with the white kid. I just like stopped his attack enough to fucking gather my breath to be like, all right, let me figure some shit out before he fucks me up again some way that I haven't seen before. It's just different, just more risk and shit. Anyways, I wanted to bring that up. I thought about that guy. In a way, drug laws remind me of a funny detail about stop and frisk, New York's idiotic, unconstitutional, warrantless search law. A cop can search you if you're wearing clothes he deems to associate with criminal activity. Now, technically, smoking weed is a crime in the state, so they tell me, and I know a lot of potheads also dress similarly. Police policies like stop and frisk allow cops to profile and criminalize whole segments of society, which may or may not fall along racial lines, but usually do fall along income lines. To borrow from Sancho Panza of Don Quixote lore, it's not with whom you're bred, but with whom you're fed. Class trumps race every time, and privilege preempts objectification, not the other way around. Now imagine if the NYPD, I'm trying to fit all of the wisdom I've ever gathered in life into like my projects. So I'm throwing some Don Quixote in there. Now imagine if the NYPD brought in a SWAT team to Wall Street and set a phalanx across Broadway blocking off the entrance to the stock exchange. Imagine if they created impromptu checkpoints to filter out all the suits, typically white males. Imagine if instead of stop and frisk, they performed stop and audit, a quick check of their financials to catch white-collar crime, maybe even look into what corporate gangs these thugs are running with. Oh, you trade Apple stock. I'm afraid they use child labor. Sorry, we're going to have to take you in for questioning. Oh, your company dealt in credit default swaps and bet against the Great Recession. Is this how you pay for all that ice? And you have the balls to walk my street? You're going to be walking the block over at Rikers. That is, if they don't break your legs first for helping to destroy low-income communities of color with this manufactured boom and bust hustle. What, you haven't heard? These streets are getting smarter. They know what's up. They talk mad shit about mortgage derivatives and muni debt traps while they cook that rock. It's a dream anyway. Is it a dream, Shaz? Is that really the dream? Do we want that to ever appear anywhere else? We were close to this becoming a reality on November 17th. Only someone didn't give the cops the memo that they were supposed to arrest the suits and not the activists. What do you have to do to get some love from the NYPD? Donate a shit ton of money to them or something? Smart move, Chase. Well played. Yeah, during our protest, Chase Manhattan Bank donated like $100 million to the NYPD. They're like, oh, by the way, here's a little bit of money just to make sure that you know what's up. Okay, so there was more to this post other than a general rant about politics, drugs, and our ever-growing police state. Let's see, actually, the fences at Zuccotti were taken down earlier this week. I probably should have mentioned that. I was walking up Wall Street with some people, and we heard a commotion from the direction of the park ahead. It was probably shows my state of mind lately that I expected a bad scene and not a bunch of cheerful, celebrating occupiers streaming into the park. I've been dragging around a friend's guitar in an attempt to try and spend at least part of my day mellowing out and feeding my creative side. The laptop and the money stuff was starting to wear on me. I returned the prettiest of pink Vios finally and handed the cash and financial responsibilities back over to the group. They think that capital is more valuable in hoarded money form as opposed to a good or service that you're really borrowing interest free from a corporation. Then maybe these people missed their calling in life. Or maybe I'm growing bitter from arguing about money. So that's a passive aggressive way of me to settle in that. Okay, I'm just giving you the laptop back, and I'm not playing with you guys no more. I'm not playing with nobody no more. We're all having emotional outbursts all over the movement at this time. So I played guitar in the newly opened park while a mic check circle formed around what I like to think was my positive energy, but was most likely the block I was sitting on. Drums were banging, people were laughing, and I was realizing just how much a small thing like an open park could lift all our spirits. And then crouched down in the middle of the circle, beyond the watchful glare of Brookfield Properties private security henchmen, blocked in by cheering, shouting, joyful occupiers, two people started unpacking a duffel bag. They quickly assembled poles. They carefully slid them into the frame. They pitched a tent. That's a big thing, is they evicted us for having structures in the park. And so like when they after they evicted us, when they took down the gates and they actually let us back into the park, that first day I was walking up the street, I had a guitar, I just returned the laptop. I was like, fuck the fucking farms group. If they want to be a bunch of little bitches about money, I've already written all these fucking like 3-4 posts down on my blog. I'm going to make it on my blog anyways. And I have a Kickstarter up for my fucking blog. It's like, my money's coming in. Shaz is fucking setting sail. Motherfuckers, and I go in the park because it's fucking, and I start playing guitar, and then people start coming around, and I think, oh, okay, yeah, we're getting a jam. That's how you do it, like at a party or whatever else. You start playing music, other people come by with music, that's what the drummers always do. They're always drumming, they're always just keeping the beat. And then this dude we create a whole fucking like general assembly, and someone in the middle pitches a tent, and it was that bitch ass with Jeff, and I know he just did it to try to fucking look cool because he really is a fucking agent provocateur. But anyways, you find fucking some people are always trying to jump in the spotlight. I was thinking about jumping inside the tent because they set up the tent and then the police came real quick and just grabbed it from us. But if someone had jumped in and gotten arrested with the tent, it would have been better. That was the game we were playing. It was like a fucking narrative game. It's like, what are we doing? Who are we? Now we have an identity again because we're all gathering in the park. That's the thing, is you destroy the park, you destroy a gathering place, you destroy housing and other stuff. We just filtered out. It's so interesting how these movements start and end. They should be talked about. Even if you don't agree with the fucking history, just to like the science of fucking how social movements start and stuff are fucking fascinating things. If the king loves music, there is little wrong in the land, or so an ancient Chinese philosopher claims. It's close to 7 p.m. last night, and I'm glancing through the notebooks in Barnes & Noble while I wait for a friend. There is no more pretty pink laptop, and this little black spiral notebook isn't going to hold up much longer. But I don't have any cash. You see, I was supposed to get this blog up and running before I started pushing donations, and it's hard to get a website up and running without a dependable computer access. This is like the second time, like, it took me a minute to fucking learn how to actually get a functional website up. It's like, I had run for California governor and couldn't get that website up, and now I'm in the streets of New York trying to get this website up, being like, any day now I got my website up, and then I'll be able to sell my writing. And then this is like fucking 7 years ago. It's fucking crazy. Someday, Shaz, our dreams will come. I have taken to calling my notebook my Mexican computer. It's cheaper and functional, sturdier with an amazing battery life. Only thing is that the processor is a little outdated. For example, its calculator function is limited to the user's sobriety, and my Facebook updates are only as fast as I can pass it around a room. I would like write in the fucking notebook and pass it around the room before all. There's this place, Charlotte's Place, right behind Trinity Church, and it's like this community center the church puts on, and free computers and shit. So we all would go there. You'd have 20, 30 occupiers in there fucking hanging out on the computers, talking in their groups. So I'd pass my notebook around, like questions and shit like that. Or I did a couple times. This one girl. Here we go, M. M has changed her status to slightly annoyed at my constant badgering her to write in my notebook. M has changed her status to slightly annoyed at my constant badgering her to write in my notebook. Maybe I should send her a friendly invitation to the flying balled up piece of paper to the head app. Almost as fun as Angry Birds, they say. So there I was, She was really cute. We would talk. Never fell for the Shaz charm, but she'd stay in the church. She's the one who asked me to go to the church and check it out because, and like in the church too, she would sleep separate. She wouldn't fucking like sleep with like all the people and shit. She'd like go off into her corner. She just didn't feel comfortable around all the people, which is cool. And like we keep an eye as like fucking like I'd be like, hey, you sure you don't want me like crash over here by you? And she's like, no, no, it's cool. But like if other people try to crash with her, then like other guys like me and other people like keeping an eye on her. It's like no, no, she likes to be on her own. Just that's how stuff like that happens. You just like she stayed at Max's house. That kid who was fucking emailing me. It's like some of these guys maybe had intentions, and I mean, if she showed me the window of opportunity, I was a little bit open about it. Like, yeah, we should. I don't know, but yeah, sometimes you just vibe with someone, but it's not like you're not gonna make it obvious. But once we, yeah, we'd be walking through the financial district. I remember this one time, and I was like, I need to talk to you, and I took her down some alley, and then fucking the dumpster just had some chairs and a table from that they were emptying from an office because the financial district has all these huge buildings, and especially at night, there's just stuff going on. And so I just reached up into the dumpster and pulled out two chairs and put them across from this fucking. We were under some scaffolding or some shit, and I just sat with her, and they were like comfy ass chairs, and we just sat and we had a little fucking like meeting and just talked about shit in life, and I don't know what's going on with you and what's going on with me and the farm and shit, and just cut up. We had our own little social group and our own little fucking things going on, and she like they were a little younger than me, and so she hung out with her friends, and they had like a bunch of Pokemon references and fucking their show was just like I'm not. That's another reason to. My friend started fucking. I think it was her sister, hooking up with her sister, and they started having a thing. It's just something. Yeah, I had a good friend. We had the alley in the park. I would sleep near there in a friend's tent usually during the day. And then he would post up at the alley, and then this other guy in there, I'm pretty sure they're from the South Kentucky or something, or maybe the Midwest. And they fucking just smoke cigarettes, sit in the park, and we talk about politics, and they're more like libertarian, I guess. Yeah, that's more along my thing, like anarchist libertarians get along, just minimum government possible, and we think that most shit's stupid and bullshit, including like political correct stuff. But that's what the park was, just people who were doing shit. It wasn't so much like ideological purity. It was just like we were all against the corporate bullshit that's going on. But yeah, and he started fucking hooking up with this girl staying at the squats, and we all sort of noticed that they started hooking up, and that was this girl's sister. So I would like talk to this girl, but yeah, there was a lot of people I think who kind of had their eye on her, and it wasn't like that big of a thing for me. And like I'd see her when I saw her, but like she was sweet enough and respectful enough that she I just noticed there were like these boundaries. Like she wouldn't even give me her last name and shit, or she was yeah, she was very about her email or her last name or anything. So it was cute, and she'd even keep her whole face bundled up, her whole body bundled up, and just be like a little fucking like. But she was really smart, and there's a reason why everyone was there. Everyone was really sincere. She really sincerely wanted to be a part of whatever change that was happening. And so, yeah, I don't think I ever crossed the line with her. She was sweet. That's what it is. Sometimes you dance it, but some people are just very clear about like how they like to dance or how they. I think she would have been open to it if you're very like sincere and straightforward and approach her the way she wants. Like it'd have to be very slow and steady and something like that. I knew I was too. Yeah, even if I'm attracted to someone, if I know I'm like too much outside their type, I'm like, I know this. I wonder what she's doing. People like that. It's like I would love to talk to people like that. That like there was never any negative between us. She's someone who always like I felt like believed in me and knew that I was sincere, and likewise, I knew she was sincere, and I knew that yeah, I would talk to her. Yeah, you'd have to check in with these people like your friends and shit when we're going through all this, and with like when I went to the church, and that's why I kicked that guy out. I talked to her and other people, and I put two and two together what was going on, and she knew that Jeff was always an asshole. It's like these people see it from the bottom. I've always found those people at the bottom of society who kind of like see everything going on. They're just not empowered to do anything. And then when I come along, I'm like, all right, let's start fucking working on some of the shit that you see. People see it. So when I was window shopping for blank pieces of paper that I could not afford, a both sad and romantic way to kill time, my friend had emailed me earlier asking if I wanted dinner. I figured this meant a break from the occupation for a couple days if I played my cards right, so I conceded. Little did I know I was going to be shanghaied into attending a Manhattan Democratic Club meeting, and my hot pastrami wasn't even the greasy monster you expect from a good hot pastrami, more like dried roast beef than greasy goodness. Philly might have the cheesesteak, but LA definitely has the hot pastrami market covered. Why is this important? I don't know. The way it's been explained to me, New York City politics is very old school club oriented, sort of how you had political bosses of old charged with turning out the vote. If you want anything to happen, you have to network through the clubs, each claiming a distinct territory and identity throughout the city. I'm not really familiar with these types of party politics machines, so I sat in the back and just soaked everything up. Robert's Rules of Order used in parliamentary process, no twinkles here. The appreciation this older crowd had for my friend's involvement in the club. The crazies jamming the process in any group, as gossiped discreetly by my friend. It was all very interesting. I have to admit, though, my tolerance was tested when a lady started a mini stump speech for Obama, how he's such a great leader and creative and remarkable leader, and we really have to make sure his message is heard this year. Visit North Korea much, do you? I mean, there's a point at which a cult of personality becomes self-evident, even to the most indoctrinated, or at least I'd hope. I'm just being smarmy. It really does surprise me when people claim to pay attention to politics and then claim also to support Barack Obama as a good, upstanding gentleman. But these people, it's personality things. Yeah, so my friend would offer to buy me my meals or say I could crash sometimes with him, her, whoever it was. And this friend took me to the Village Independent Democrats. And I got to sit in on, and this was cool, being in the Occupy Wall Street movement and then sitting in on a Village Independent Democrats meeting and being like, oh, look, there's crazy people fucking up their process too. Okay, this is just also endemic of, these aren't just agent provocateurs, this is just endemic when people get together in a group to meet. Maybe these political clubs could do with a little youthful radicalism. We could wake up these Obamatrons, and in return, they can show us how to hold effective meetings. A win-win. I wondered how this type of exchange would play out as I scrubbed down my friend's stove. Well, I wondered about politics and also about how grease could get so caked in onto a stove. What does she cook with? Cement? But I don't want to be a freeloader, so I'm trying to contribute. If I behave myself, this might turn into a couple of nights of rest and relaxation. I could use a little distance from OWS, plus I have access to a computer here. Aha! My blog can finally come to life. First order of business when I get a little cash in my pocket, hunt down a decent hot pastrami sandwich in the city. My friend does have a great location, though. The apartment is modest enough, tiny, 2-bedroom, shared now by 4 people, but she's lucky in that it's rent-controlled. Apparently, the city of New York both doesn't like slumlords and doesn't like keeping seized real estate on its books. Usually, the city auctions off these properties to developers, but it took a small percentage of these properties, rehabbed them, and then gave the ownership to the tenants. So a friend of mine, they lived in this apartment. It's not my friend, but her friend lived in this apartment. It was owned by a slumlord, wasn't paying their taxes or paying anything. The city took the property from the slumlord, and then instead of selling it, they have this program where like the residents can like try to offer to take over the building. The city doesn't even charge the residents, so the city, but also the city can't let people live in a building that's not up to code. So the city put the people in alternative housing, paid for it, brought the building up to code by renovating the whole thing, and then gave it to the residents where they didn't even have to pay. They just have to pay the common charges. Because in a building in New York, you have to pay common charges. That keeps the building operating like a corporation. It pays for the super, it pays for all the common shit. You have to do brickwork and just constant maintenance on these buildings. So for her, it was $600 for a 2-bedroom apartment. So she charged, no, that was the friend. And so the friend charged like over $2,000 for the 2 bedrooms and lived in $1,000 a bedroom and lived in the fucking living room. So made like $1,400 profit. Made enough to live off of from the rent they were charging. And then they were addicted to some drugs, the friend, and eventually moved to like Missouri or somewhere to fucking try to be clean. And they were grossly obese, overweight. They killed a cat from lung cancer. Smoke so much in your apartment that your cat dies from lung cancer. That means that, yeah, that's just the warning sign. Got another cat. And it was like, I talked to that dude. I stayed there for a little bit. I lived there when they moved out. My friend moved out. I moved in for a little bit with Addie in New York. That was a whole nother fucking experience. Addie in New York, in the throes of her addiction. But yeah, fucking that guy. I mean, I let him read Complete American's Guide to Revolution because he was the owner of this apartment who was going to the Village Independent Democrats. That's why my friend brought me to Village Independent Democrats. and then asked if I could stay over there, if I fucking like cleaned the stove or did something. So that's why I'm cleaning the stove. But yeah, that dude who owned that apartment, I was like, yo, dude, it was around Thanksgiving, and he tried to give me some shit for cooking. He was like, yo, why are you making so much noise in there in the kitchen? This is like years later, a couple years later, when I'm doing real estate. I first got into real estate. And I'm like, dude, it's fucking Thanksgiving, just make himself some food. We're both fucking like alone on Thanksgiving, but it's like we were alone together. I don't care about holidays. For homeboy, I know fucking, he pretty much living the life of suicide. I told him, I was like, because he could barely get out of bed, he would wear the mask at night to sleep with the air and shit like that. It's like the city gave you this apartment because of fucking fortunate circumstances and this and that. Like, make the most of your life. I just try and give him a kick in the butt. I was like, no one, my friend, no one will tell you fucking the truth. But you're committing suicide the way you live. And he's like, tell me something I don't know. I'm like, what are we, 5 years old? Is that how you're going to communicate with me, dude? I'm giving you a warning. And then, I don't know, it didn't work on him. But like, I tried. I was like, well, I don't want to fucking leave this guy's life without at least trying. So I fucking tried to but it didn't help. But then everyone's ignoring him, didn't help him either. And he moved back to Missouri, and then within like 6 months he died. And my friend went out there to visit him, and he died on the porch. Locked himself out of the porch, and she came back from a yard sale or something. Found him on the porch, face down. But yeah, he was grossly obese and smoked and fucking had that sleep apnea shit and didn't get enough oxygen. But it comes from the family, and he had a bad relationship with his mom. And I mean, that's not the only reason, but people are complex. There's a lot of inputs usually. So that's a stove that I'm scrubbing back then. So a couple years of paperwork and remodeling later, that's how my friend ends up with a title to her own 2-bedroom apartment on the corner of Central Park, like literally a block away. It wasn't hers, it was the other guy's. I remember a couple years ago, I spent the summer months taking in the city here. I'd smoke a joint and hang out with the fireflies in the evening and walk the park in the mornings. The rush hour traffic of bicyclists, joggers, and power walkers fitting their brief self-indulgence among their hectic work schedule. Me wandering around in flip-flops. One morning, a crowd was camped out for Shakespeare in the Park, which makes tickets available the morning of for sold-out shows or something. Maybe they're free. I don't remember. Just that there was a long line of people occupying for Shakespeare. I was starting to notice why people lined up in lines. I was like, oh, that's interesting. This line for Justin Bieber was much longer. Like, this is bigger than the fucking group we just had in the park or something. Which is, it started to show me how insignificant we were. It's like a bunch of people came out to protest, and then the political narratives jumped on it to use it to make fun of us or other stuff, and they just disappeared again. And the rest of the world is still going. We really thought that it was a whole world, and we were changing the whole world with our little revolution. And in the meantime, I'm thinking, hey, how many people line up for Shakespeare in the Park tickets? Or for any of these like celebrities? Lucky for me, I had a friend who helped fundraise for the theater that year, so I was set. That was the year Pacino played The Merchant of Venice. This is Shah. Pop quiz. What do you do opening night when you're playing the title role and your mic goes out in the middle of a character establishing monologue? Oh, and you happen to be Al Pacino. You man the fuck up and raise your voice. You're Al Pacino. Yelling is what you do. I am a Jew. Hath not a Jew eyes? Hath not a Jew hands, organs, dimensions, senses, affections, passions? Fed with the same food, hurt with the same weapons, subject to the same diseases, healed by the same means, warmed and cooled by the same winter and summer as a Christian is? If you prick us, do we not bleed? If you tickle us, do we not laugh? If you poison us, do we not die? And if you wrong us, shall we not be revenged? Shall we not revenge? If we are like you in the rest, we shall resemble you in that. If a Jew wrong a Christian, what is his humility? Revenge. If a Christian wrong a Jew, what should his sufferance be by Christian example? Why? Revenge. The villainy you teach me I will execute, and it shall go hard, but I will be better the instruction. I will have my bomb. That was a fun summer. This is a good place to unwind. I'll take a break while I can, so I'll end this post with the thought of all the reasons people came out in public spaces compared with All the reasons why they should. Oh, my friend's place is a good place to unwind. Writing after a while, not writing, you're just catching the rhythm, catching the flow again. Ten more minutes. We'll read another one. 10 minutes. I'm just gonna have to do another video. It's okay. A marathon is just a marathon, not a fucking sprint. Free, sucker. $35,000 a plate, January 14th, 2012. That's what I pondered as I ate my Frosted Flakes, drowned in more coffee than milk. Barack Obama, our great, creative, visionary, transformative president, is having a fundraiser dinner at the White House and charging attendees $35,000 a plate. Never mind that the White House has become an ATM for cash and carry politicians. Let's talk about nutrition. How much is a recommended serving of meat? 6 to 8 ounces. Let's say gold is hovering at $1,500 an ounce. That's cash for a double serving of gold as your main entree, with enough left over on the table to afford a gold-flaked side or a diamond-encrusted dessert. But of course, people aren't really buying dinner. They're buying access to our president, the guy who would be my commander-in-chief if I was still in the military. He'd be my 2012 presidential pick if I underwent a lobotomy. Then again, I hear his canvassers get paid $35,000. How do you put that type of fundraising in perspective? That's a lot of coffee-soaked Frosted Flakes. That's a lot of pastrami sandwiches. That's about 70 prettiest pink Vio laptops. It's about 4 years living in this rent-controlled apartment I'm currently crashing at on the corner of Central Park. It's about 20 years of food for one occupier using our current rule of thumb of $5 per day. It could be over twice that many years of boarding according to the $2 to $6 a head we pay our local churches to house our diaspora. Oh yeah, I don't know if I clarified the couple of posts ago when I ended with the erection of a tent in the newly liberated Zuccotti Park. That lasted all of 2 minutes before the private security goons came in and tore it down. So here we are watching our cash reserves dwindle over the winter while the establishment politicians out there rake it in over what should be another record-breaking election. They say that well over $6 billion might be in play this year, with Obama pulling in over $1 billion himself. And meanwhile, over here at Occupy Wall Street, they just passed a proposal to freeze spending. That's right, not create a comprehensive analysis of possible increases in donations, plotting past actions against donation spikes to increase objective metrics that can increase our war chest, not trying to prioritize actions even generally, those that generate press and revenue versus those that don't multiply our dollars. Just freeze all the cash. And then to make matters worse, and this isn't something I actually object to, they made exceptions for housing, food, and Metro cards. So stop spending money on the actions that actually increase our bank account while keeping our operation costs fixed. For example, the outreach working group, the folks tasked with getting the word out about our movement throughout the 5 boroughs and before major actions, they now have to make do without their $2,000 a week printing budget. As one member of the group told me, they've always got Sharpies and cardboard. What the fuck? Why go into battle unprepared? Why use Stone Age tactics when we have the ability to be as cutting edge as the opposition? Cardboard signs are important techniques, but we did not take Zuccotti by cardboard. People gave us money to support the movement we were creating. The money slowed to a trickle because we've stagnated as an organization. I've talked to the people who organized this proposal, both the well-intentioned and those I don't trust. I've been flaming the proposal page on the OWS website. In the end, I fear that this is a power move to push the movement towards affinity and therefore less transparent funding sources as a first step towards eventual co-option by the establishment. In order to steer a movement, first you need to get it on the payroll. Discussions like these don't address our underlying issues of stagnation. We haven't just frozen in place. Our identity has been fractured since the park was raided, and we haven't addressed this. They've gotten so bad that now an occupied office received an anonymous complaint, most likely from an inside source based on wording that caused it to limit access. Now our fancy Wall Street headquarters, as described in CNN, is only accepting 17 or so people at a time, happily posting the complaints online as their justification. And guess who proposals like these come from? The office rats who occupy behind the doorman. I'm glad I ditched that place when I did, while I could still feel the stifling, undemocratic atmosphere in the air. Because the end game is to make you comfortable in other ways to the point that you no longer notice or care that you've forsaken your values for comfort, privilege. Freeze the spending. Let the money run out of the general fund. Let the dead weight slow off during the winter and refocus come spring. These are the types of conversations I'd overhear or call out in the office space when people weren't complaining in general about the selfless burdens they've taken on. I wonder how far Kipling's white man's burden fallacy can be applied to the modern institutional activist. Hipster's burden, perhaps? iPhone burden, even? Take up the white man's burden and reap his old reward, the blame of those ye better, the hate of those ye guard. Yes, guard us from our ignorance, cut our credit cards, ground us and scold us about fiscal responsibility. What words are associated with a spending freeze? Restrictions, responsibility, maturity, scarcity, austerity, limits, accountability, fear, vulnerability, survival. Now, what about the other side, spending freely and openly in the hope that in the business we're in, the business of public activism, action generates income, world of plenty, goodwill, abundance, gift economy, barter, compassion, love, hope, faith, idealism, providence. And just who is supposed to provide? The people. As long as we continue to inspire them. Watching a bunch of hippies fret over their checkbook isn't inspiring. It's pathetic. And the media's taking notice. There is big money out there, $35,000 a plate money. Let's go after it. Let's not sit on our thumbs and lick our wounds as the noose of impoverishment tightens. This sounds suspiciously like the austerity measures that the global banking cartel try to force down the throats of its victims. My God, it all makes sense now. Occupy Wall Street has been sexually banked. As soon as I get back downtown to Lower Manhattan, I'm going to have to look just what the fuck is going on in finance. As an afterthought, I just want to paraphrase a comment from Subcomandante Marcos, a Zapatista revolutionary still struggling in the southern jungles of Mexico, explaining why his movement veered off its intended trajectory from urban intellectualism to indigenous rights. He answered something to the effect that we came to the jungle to politicize the Indios, but instead they made Indios out of us. This is the personal growth that I felt in the park, that I feel at the best of times in this movement. The homeless weren't our problem. Money isn't our problem. You don't have problems when you have moral conviction. Peace is your reward. Our ability to live our values, and by doing so to inspire ours, is our challenge. Now, if we can do this while planning larger actions that garner attention and that big Obama-Romney money, then maybe we'll justify calling ourselves a movement. This is Shaz Barrick, blogging live from Occupy Wall Street, January 14th, 2012. Like halfway done. This is January 15th. How many more do I have? Probably an hour. January 15th. January 21st, fuck. When did I start? I started January 8th. I can finish in an hour. Alright, so I'm on January 15th. Yeah, that was January 14th. I can finish in an hour. And we got 30 more seconds for this video. I'll do the rest tomorrow. So after I do this guy, January 15th, and then tomorrow, I can do 1 hour for the, probably 2 hours. Daily transcripts, max dialogue are each an hour. And then the last 4 could be the last hour. There you go. That's good. Sweet. So fucking tomorrow, 3 hours. And we're done. Alright, Shaz. Thank you for your patience during the long journey ahead.